Chapter 45, Mariam Strikes Back. And this is a good chapter, as you know. I'm sure you have read it by now. It's one of my one of my favorite chapters. I have my favorites. I have chapters that I really have a hard time reading. Um, we're not entirely done with those, unfortunately. But there's also a few chapters, man, it's like I almost feel like I could read it again, or there's a few paragraphs at least that I go over again. And this is Zhao Mai going upstairs. He's going to be locked away so that Rashid can come downstairs and deal with Lila and Mariam. Hard to determine exactly what Rashid is going to do up front. It could just be a beating for both of them, but he did already kind of say when they tried to leave to go to Pakistan, you know, a few years ago, that he would kill them, or at least kill Lila if he ever had to deal with something like this again. Her seeing Tariq and maybe even acknowledging that Tariq is alive and that whole thing with Tariq coming by the house is almost as bad. And if you're Rashid, Rashid is not stupid. He's not a great guy, but he's not stupid. Also not smart, but he's not stupid. He probably sees the writing on the wall here. If I let this go on, it's only a matter of time before she leaves with Tariq. And if that happens, what does Mariam do? Does Mariam leave too? What about Zalmai, my son? And so Rashid probably looks at this as he's going to have to kill Lila. And so he's swinging the belt here, and I like this because this is a Mariam, 27 years it says, I think. 24 or 27, I think 27. Almost 3 decades she'd given to Rashid. She gave him everything, everything. She had given him, she's the first man she had ever been with, and married him when she was only 15, and took his years of insults and abuse. And I mean, they hadn't been married that long when he was making her chew up rocks and she's spitting out bits and pieces of her teeth. And that was, gosh, 20 years ago at this point. So you got to think, man, like day in and day out, like a prison sentence. She's taking this abuse from Rashid, and I think Rashid thought. I think Rashid thought that if Mariam hadn't broken by now, or I'm sorry, if Mariam hadn't snapped by now, I should say, that she is not going to. So I think Rashid is focused on Lila here, doesn't really factor in Mariam. He's probably more or less with Mariam, hey, I'm going to beat her, and that's going to be the end of it for Mariam. Maybe kill her, but it wasn't going to be much of it. But what you have here is both women fighting back, and when Rashid, and this is an important thing to acknowledge, that Rashid thinks he's so much better than women. He thinks he's so much stronger than women. He thinks he's so much smarter than women. And I mean women in general, not just Lila and Mariam. He's a better human being because he is a man. And he can't. It's probably, a lot of it, I'm sure, has to do with age. I don't think it's all age, but a lot of it has to do with age. He's an older man now. He's comfortably in his 60s here. Maybe even 70s, depending on, we never really know. I'm not sure Rashid knows exactly how old he is. But he can't handle them both. He gets up and takes the belt to Mariam. Lila breaks a glass over his head. He gets up and is going to kill Lila here. Mariam is going to come after him as well. So it's just, he can't get them both. Now, a critical part of the chapter is when Mariam sees Rashid is on top of Lila and he is going to choke her out here. And Mariam realizes at this point, if I just sit here and do nothing, he's going to kill Lila. Like, there's no, if I just be really quiet and I'm really still, maybe he won't. If I just back off and take a beating with a belt, maybe he won't. That 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 thought has kind of left Mariam, and she realizes if I don't do anything, it's quite the opposite now. If I don't do anything, if I'm very still, if I'm very quiet, if I'm very obedient, if I'm very subservient, if I take my beatings and shut up, then Lila's going to die. And man, at this point, she already has Aziza in the orphanage. Mariam's going to have to go to the orphanage and explain to Aziza that her mother is dead. Mariam can't do that. Can't do that. And so Mariam goes to, powerful symbolism here, the Toolshed. The Toolshed where she was locked up for those 3 days. When they tried to escape a few years ago, that was her quarters after she took her beating from Rashid. And she goes into that tool shed, and maybe, I don't know, I like to think that maybe the idea was planted in her head then. Maybe she realized then, sitting in that tool shed, if it ever came down to it, this is what I would do. Almost had like a plan in her mind. And she goes through with it. She has this shovel, and she comes back, and Rashid is killing Lila here. Lila's about to be choked to death, and she catches Rashid right on the side of the head, that temple, ow, with that shovel, and enough to knock him off of Lila. Lila maybe passed out here, maybe choking, but she's not dead. Rashid can't believe it. Rashid is like, what? You've never hit me or anything. You've never fought back. You've never fought back. And you're going to take a shovel to me? And remember, again, this chapter is connected to other parts in the book because there was also that moment where, sorry, I'm making my hair worse here. There was also that moment where Rashid gets punched by Lila. And for a second there, Mariam thinks like, oh, does he respect her now because she fought back? No, he went and got his gun and was going to shoot her, or at least threatened to. Rashid doesn't look at women fighting back. He doesn't look at that as like, okay, you're an equal opponent. He looks at it more like a dog biting you, like subservient. You know, how dare you? How dare you come after you? And so you hit me with a shovel. And so Mariam realizes now she has a decision. There's a critical point here in the book where Mariam has a decision to make. And it's not the decision to go get the shovel, but it's the decision to hit Rashid again. And I think this is what we've all been waiting for. We weren't all waiting necessarily for that first lick, although that felt good. This is the moment we're all waiting for. She sees murder in his eyes. Mariam is thinking here. She sees murder in his eyes. It's not respect. It's, I'm going to do what I did last time I got hit. I'm going to go to the drawer in my room. I'm going to get the gun. I'm going to kill you both. And it's Taliban-controlled Afghanistan. They probably wouldn't even notice. Rashid buries him in the backyard. In fact, I don't even know if he would do that. You might just haul him off somewhere. But basically, Rashid could do it and get away with it. And so Mariam realizes all this in a split second. And so she has the shovel back here, and it's awesome. She turns it where the edge side is facing Rashid. And she takes this thing up to where it says that the shovel reaches the small of her back. She turned it so the sharp edge was vertical. And as she did, it occurred to her, I like this part, it occurred to her that this was the first time that she was deciding the course of her own life. From the moment that little 15-year-old girl, no offense if you're 15, but that little 15-year-old girl crosses over the river, goes into the city and says, you know what, I'm going to see my dad. From that moment, you could put a pin in that moment and take a string and run the string all the way to this exact moment. And really, you could say she made the decision to cross the river and try to go see Jaleel, and that's fair. I think that's fair. That's probably what I would say. But since then, this has really been the first decision she tried to make. She's thinking for herself. She's setting the course for herself. She's not, unlike last time when she went to go see Jaleel, she's not reliant on anyone else here. She's not thinking about Well, what are we going to do for work? I can't get a job. What about the economy? We'll just be two women and a child. What are we going to do? She's not thinking about any of that. She's like, you know what? This one's for Mariam. And she takes that shovel and just brings it down on Rashid. And it's lights out, brother. And with that, Mariam brought down the shovel. This time she gave it everything she had. And she knew as she brought that shovel down, she knew she was going to kill Rashid with this. And look, I don't want to spoil it for you. I hope you can figure this out because I think you're all smart enough by now to understand. She kills him. That's it. Okay? Like if she has the shovel like this and brings it down directly on the edge right into Rashid's head with all her might, she may be, a frail little Afghani woman, but trust me, that's enough to kill him. That's enough to kill anyone. And so she brings that shovel down on Rashid, kills him, and man, I'm anti-death penalty. I don't believe that any of us have the right to end the life of another human being. That's just my personal take. But that felt good. That part right there. And I know it's a story, but man, you like to think that part is real. That was divine. I feel like no matter what your religious beliefs are, but if there is a God, I think there is. I believe there is. No matter what your religious beliefs are, you got to think that was divine. That was heaven sent. Like she got to bring that shovel down, and it was like this light from heaven came down, and shone on the moment, and she was blasted into the afterlife with that shovel. And boy, took her long enough. Something she probably should have done a long time ago, honest. But she does that. And anyway, a really cool part of the book, and it's one of the best chapters. It's a really interesting thing, and she does it to save Lila, so it's not malicious. Author was really clever in how he put that together. It wasn't like showing that Mariam had, there wasn't like a brokenness inside of Mariam, and then she kind of went on a rampage. No, she did it in the heat of the moment to save, for all intents and purposes, her child, which, I think at this point, after all this time, I think we definitely think of Lila as an adopted daughter to Mariam. And so she did that. The problem with this part of the book is that this isn't the last chapter. There's chapter 46, 47, 48, which you should be working on now. And so we have to kind of pick up the pieces from here because now you have a giant dead body. Rashid wasn't a little dude. You have a little crying boy upstairs. You have Lila, who is coming back into consciousness here. And you have Mariam. And so now it's like, well, it was a really cool moment, but what do you do from here? And there are some thoughts on this. I think we involve Tariq on this, on what's next. I think we involve Aziza on what's next. If you have a reader's intuition, you're already thinking like, how, where does this go from here? And I think that that's what we got to determine now. So I'll come back with you tomorrow on chapter 46, I think it is. Maybe 46 and 47. There's another chapter up here that's going to be kind of difficult to go through because it's just a difficult chapter to talk about. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. 51 is our last chapter, so we're coming up on it. I've really enjoyed doing these with you guys. I hope that some of you at least are getting something out of this. And if not, I can at least scream into the void and make myself feel better. So anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Stay dry. Looks like we're about to get some weather. I guess that's all. See ya.